everybody. What's going on? Hope you're all doing well. How are you on this lovely Saturday evening? Hanging out with a live stream with good old Uncle Dave. Hope you're doing well. Let me know if you can hear the audio okay. And if everything is sounding good. Hopefully it's a little bit louder than it was the last time. I know last time some folks said my voice was a little bit too quiet. Like you really want to hear what I'm talking about. So we've made some adjustments for that, but I hope you're all doing well. Tonight, pardon me, scratchy throat today. Tonight we're going to take a look, we're going to take a look and we're going to take a look and listen to the QCon Pro X. I have some notes here. I'm going to give you a basic overview of the thing and give you kind of my opinion on it. Audio is excellent. Great. Thanks, Dave. Oh, we should see if this works. Hold on. Stand by. Audio, look at that. Huh? Look at that. Comments on the screen and everything. Okay. So there we go. Great. So yes, so we have, we're going to take a look and listen to that. Now, I've already done 7 or 8 videos that are already scheduled to go on YouTube, but I got a fly flying around here. And those are going to start going. You're going to start seeing those live on the channel in the next 2 weeks, maybe once the SoftTube Console 1 stuff is done. They're already done, but I'm going to kind of give you a spoiler alert. I'm going to show it to you in action, talk about what I like and don't like, and then take some of your questions if you have any. How about that? How does that sound to everybody? That's what we're going to do. But before we get started, if this is your first time here, say hi in the chat and let us know. Make sure you're subscribed to all the social media nonsense that's on the right-hand side of the screen, because you got to be subscribed to everything, right? Make sure, most importantly, Dave already put it in the chat that go to homerecordingmadeeasy.com. If this is your first time here and you've never been out to the website, because there's a free mixing course on that website I want to give you for free. It's a $100 course, absolutely free. Download it today. And that'll automatically give you that free course and put you on my email list. And you want to be on the email list. And you say, well, why do I want to be on the email list, Dave? I get all kinds of emails from so many people this day. The last thing I need is another email. I hear you. But a couple of times a month, I put massive sales on different courses in my catalog, and the only ones that get those sales are people that are on my email list, because you become a VIP member when you're on the email list. That's why it's like that. I can't look at myself twice. I'm going to shrink that down. Okay, so I don't have to look at myself straight on YouTube. Okay, so when you're on the email list, I don't spam you. You get emails from me periodically. You'll get a couple a week, and then when I do a promotion, you'll get 4 or 5 in 1 week. But I keep them short to the point. I give you huge discounts on training that the general public doesn't get. That's why I tell you to get on the email list. So go get your free course, get on the email list, save yourself some money. We all need to save money today because everybody's struggling with inflation and gas prices and this and that and the other thing and grocery prices and everything else. So I try to do everything I can to try to give you as much training as I can for the lowest price possible and the least expensive of anybody else on planet Earth. So go make sure you do that. Make sure you subscribe. Say hi in the chat. And let us know if this is your first time here. How many people do we have watching us thus far? What do we have? About 20 people. Great. And then we're going to jump into Studio One and take a look at this QCon Pro X surface control. Okay, so let me go up to the chat and let's say hi to everybody. John's here. Hey, John, how are you, bud? He says, oh, I should put you on the screen so you can see what everybody can see what you said. I've always hoped you would take the QCon for a spin. With driven by Moss and Reaper, my workflow is most integrated hands-on experience that I never had mixing in the box. Well, this is your night. So we're going to talk about the QCon Pro X. Also go back, John, if you have not seen the other surface controls that I've done videos on and reviews on and little mini series on the channel. The SoftTube Console 1, we're in the final stages. You guys saw a video the other day. I think next week might be the last one, and then we jump into the QCon. But I've also done the SSL ones. I've done the PreSonus fader port, and you can get a feel for all of them. How they work and whatnot. And tonight we'll take a look at the QCon. Wiss is here. Wissmel. Hey, good evening, everybody. Good evening to you too. John, J Beats and Waves. Hey, what's going on, peeps? Excellent, man. Let me just scroll up here and let me get rid of that comment. Okay, here we go. Let's scroll down some more. David SJ's here, putting all kinds of links up there as well. Thanks, Dave, for taking your time to do that. All right, making memories with Benji. Hope all is doing well. Hope you're doing well as well. Making memories with Benji. Good to see you tonight. Glad that you are here as well. So let's go ahead and let me move this comments over so I could bring up Studio One here. We'll jump right in and we'll talk about it. Let's talk. Hey, Steve, how you doing, brother? Hey, Steve, did you get my email the other day, by the way? Your mixingmadeeasy.net. Just, I think I emailed you back. I get so many emails. I try to get back to all my MN. And speaking of mixingmadeeasy.net, I'm sure Dave will put a link in the chat. If you're checking this out because you're into mixing and you want to learn the craft of mixing in a non-technical way, go check out mixingmadeeasy.net. We have a lot of our members here tonight. It's the #1 mixing training website on the internet. That's right. I just claimed that, so it must be true. Okay. But good to see you, Steve. How are you? So let's jump over here. You did. Thank you. Okay, great. Good. Get the plug-in. Steve won a plug-in last month for a great mix. You got a free plug-in. We do that every month at mixingmadeeasy.net. We give away free plug-ins as part of our monthly mixing contest. So you just don't get training from me every single month. You get multi-track files. You get to win plug-ins. You get to join a community of awesome people that are all like-minded. They're all helping each other get better at the craft of mixing. So if you're someone who mixes music for yourself or for somebody else or both, and you really want to up your game, go check out mixingmadeeasy.net. You'll be glad you did. Okay, so let's get up my, hey, Philip, how you doing? Great channel, perfect timing on the controller comparisons. I got to put that up on the screen. Okay, here we go. As you what? You didn't finish your thought, Philip. That's okay. But great, you must be in the market for a surface control. Cool. Okay, well, yeah, you go make sure you go back and check the channel, and we're going to talk a little bit about these surface controls. Okay, so let me get up Studio One here. Where's my button? There it is right there. Okay, look at that, huh? There's your icon, QCon Pro X. Okay, so I got some notes here, because I'm not going to make you wait 6 weeks to know what I like and dislike and give you an overview. There is a video, like I said, coming. I think it's part 7. The last video of the series that I did, that won't happen till probably early mid-September. I go through a lot of what I'm going to say here tonight, because I want to give you the information now, because you guys are here checking this out. You don't want to wait 7 weeks to hear what I think. Okay. And Philip says he's been debating on the console one and the QCon. Then this is for you. Get yourself a pen. Get yourself a cup of coffee. Stay awake for this live stream, because if you want to know which one you should purchase, this is perfect for you. We're going to talk about those 2 units. So here it is on the screen. Pardon me, man. I got a real scratchy throat today, so I apologize. I'm going to try to hydrate as much as possible here. So this is the 24 fader unit, right? So the way the QCon Pro X works is you have a master section, which is here in the center. This is an 8-channel bank, okay? With a full master section and control and transport section, which we'll talk a little bit about, with a meter bridge. Okay, now, oh no, by the way, QCon Icon makes 2 or 3 versions of this. One that doesn't have a meter bridge. They make some that are in different price brackets. This is their flagship, the most expensive one. Just so you know that. But you still get a lot of the same features on some of the more affordable units without all the nice features like 2 LCD screens and meter bridges and those kinds of things. So just be aware of that. So check their website, iconproaudio.com, I believe is the link. They don't sell these at Sweetwater, but you can go check them out there. So it starts with the master section here, okay? Now, one of the things that makes this thing super unique that I have yet to see any other surface control do it this well is this is based on a master section and what they call their extensions. There's one here on the left and one here on the right. These extensions are all in buckets of 8 with the faders, the meter bridges, and the encoders, okay? And they kind of connect together. They have like little pins that snap the 2 units together, so it looks like one big unit. It doesn't look like 3 separate pieces. Now, that in and of itself isn't unique as far as you can take, let's say, the PreSonus fader port 16, and you can daisy chain 2 of those together and get 32 faders. That's not unique in and of itself. Although, if you did something like that with a typical surface control, that surface control, you would have two of the same unit, both have master sections. It's not as clean as this. This is a master section with buckets of 8, much like a real console is. What's unique about this that I have not seen any other surface control do yet is that you can go, depending on your DAW, up to 64 faders. You can daisy chain these together in buckets of 8 to get you up to 64 faders on Cubase, Studio One, and I want to say Logic. There's a few other DAWs that you can only go up to 32 faders. Pro Tools is one of those DAWs. I believe Reaper might be one of those DAWs. And there's another one. I think Ableton Live might be one of those DAWs. But again, if you go to their website, and I'm sure Dave will throw a link up there at one point through the broadcast. I think it's iconpro.com or something like that. They have a chart. They'll tell you which DAW and how many faders you can have. But with Studio One and Cubase, it's 64 in buckets of 8. So this is 24. If I wanted to add one more bucket of 8, I'd have 32, one more bucket of 8, 40. You get the idea. So you have unlimited, really unlimited amount of faders at your disposal if you want to do that. If you want to spend the money and you have the real estate on your workstation, which we'll talk about, you can do as many faders as you want, which is really cool. No other surface control really does that. Okay. Now, one of the downsides to this thing is you can see it. It's big. I mean, this takes up about 24 faders. I would say this is about 45 inches in length. You can look on the website for the dimensions. It's probably around 40 to 48 inches in depth, in length, and it's about 20 inches in depth front to back. So you need a lot of real estate on your desk in order to put this thing on there because it's not small. It's not super compact like the Softube Console 1. It's not super compact like a Fader Port 8 or anything like that. This thing is big, but again, master section, full DAW controls here on the right-hand side with a full transport section. Buckets of 8. The very first thing I will say to you without a shadow of a doubt is that the build quality of this thing is top notch. It's all metal. It doesn't feel cheap. It doesn't feel chintzy. Everything is nice and smooth. The faders are plastic, but they all are in every surface control that's out there, but they feel good. They're all touch sensitive motorized faders. As I touch them, you can see the buttons light up above the fader. That in and of itself, again, is not a unique feature, but it works really, really well. And as you can see on the screen, for the most part, there's no lag, there's no latency. Sometimes there might be a little bit of latency when you're doing something like I'm trying to do, like live stream and running video in the background and that stuff. But if you're just, not a lot, but sometimes I notice that. And in talking to QCon, it's like, well, if you're trying to do video recording and live streaming and all that stuff, sometimes there may be a slight bit of latency delay, but when you're not doing that and you're just using your normal operation mode, no latency at all, no drag. It feels really good. Thing is built like top-notch quality. The other thing I like about this particular unit, which is I have not experienced with any other surface control, is that this can be, looks like, feels like the centerpiece of your studio. So if you're looking for something that gives you as close to a real console kind of a vibe and feel, this is the first one I've ever had in my presence that gives you that feel because of the size of it, even though it's big, but because of the size of it and because of the layout of it and the way it's spread out and the build quality of it and the way the units kind of connect together, it looks like one nice big real mixing board. That's what it looks like, because that's kind of what it is. So if you're looking for like a centerpiece, like you walk in and you can't have a console, but you want to kind of have that kind of vibe and feel, whether, you know, for yourself or whether you're dealing with clients or whatever, this can be that. And because it's expandable, it can grow with you over time. This is just sitting on top of my desk, but I can see that if I had something like this, where maybe I would have a minimum of 32 faders, maybe even possibly 40. And then I'd have a custom desk built around it. And if it sat in a custom desk, like an Argosy or something like that, it would look slick. I mean, it would. There's no other control surface out there that I've seen that has that kind of vibe. The only one out there that's even in the remote ballpark are some of the more expensive Avid S series. I think the S6 and some of those, but those are big bucks. You're talking tens of thousands. This unit, as it sits here in front of me, U.S. market retail, again, and prices always change, as you all know, especially with all the nutty stuff going on in the world today. This thing sitting in front of me right here is probably around $3,500 US brand new for these 3 units. So that compared to the expensive Ivid stuff, it's not even a comparison. This is on par to something like a PreSonus Studio Live mixer, 32 channel, that kind of thing. Those are about $4,000 now. I think 4,500 now. Last time I checked Sweetwater. These are in that ballpark price wise, maybe even a little bit less, because something like a Studio Live has preamps so you can record on it. This does not have that. This is just DAW control. Okay. So that's really cool. So you can have a ton of faders on it. The other thing that's really great about this is it is compatible with every single DAW on the market except for Universal Audio Luna at this particular moment. Depending on if you're watching the replay of this, that could all change down the road. Luna may be compatible with this at one point, but every DAW, and I mean all of them, this thing is compatible with, which is kind of cool. Other Surface controls are as well, but most of them are with the main ones, but some of the more non-popular ones, you know, some are not the big 3 or 4. Some Surface controls don't work well. This one works with all of them, which is great. Now, depending on the DAW you're using, the functionality may be a little bit more or less, and we'll talk about that. That's a kind of a quirky thing with the DAW. The other thing that's really cool about this is we talked about the master section here, all these buttons here. What you can't see here, and I'm going to show you a secondary one right here. This is a metal insert. This happens to be the one for, I think, Cubase, right? Yeah, Cubase and Uendo. Oh, can I do that? So this is a metal insert with a little for lack of a better word, little computer, I gotta go this way, dummy. Okay, there we go. Little computer pins where you unscrew the master insert here. Oops. Yeah, there we go. You unscrew that little plate and this little plate goes in, and then this has a little motherboard, a little computer board in there. And what that does is it changes all the mapping for this specific DAW. So for example, I have the Studio One plate in here, and these buttons react and do different things that are mapped already by the factory for Studio One. Whereas if you put the Cubase one in there, it's going to be mapped for Cubase. And you can get these for every DAW that's out there. You can get these little metal inserts with this little thing here, which again, in the video that you'll see in a few weeks, I show you how to install it and all of that. That's something completely unique. I've never seen a DAW do that. And it comes from the factory with Cubase and Uendo. Already installed, you get that for free. They gave me the one for Studio One as part of this review. If you want one for your particular DAW, they actually don't charge you for this. You get this for free. You just pay for shipping and handling, which I think is about $25 US as we sit here today. So let's say you're using Pro Tools. You could get the Pro Tools insert. Just you go to their website, you put it in your cart, you put your shipping information, they'll ship it to you once you pay for your shipping charges, right? UPS or whatever they use. If you didn't want to do that and you wanted to custom map these buttons to do very specific functions in your specific DAW, you can do that as well. They have a software that comes with this called iMap, which if you really understand MIDI mapping in your DAW, you can map all the buttons to kind of do whatever you want, or your most go-to functions that you would typically touch a keyboard for, you can put them on these buttons. So what I guess I'm trying to say is that the master section and the way the functionality works with this is more fully featured than on any other controller I've used to date. As far as the amount of flexibility with the different DAWs, the way you could customize this, or you can buy the insert and get that, not buy it, buy the shipping, get the insert for your specific DAW. And you can use 2 or 3 DAWs, you can have 2 or 3 of those inserts and you can swap them out. So you don't have to memorize what the mapping is. You can just see on here what the mapping is. And that's pretty cool. So that's like the main things of what I really like about it. It functions well. Okay. It feels good. It looks pro level. It is pro level, and it's compatible with any DAW, which is fantastic. Now, there's a few things about this thing that are quirky, and this is where, and we'll talk about, I think for Philip, between this and something like a Softube Console 1, they're different types of products, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. There's a few things that I don't like about this. With the DAW that I primarily use, which is Studio One, And we've talked about this when we did the SoftTube Console 1 live stream about some of the things that I don't like, and that I don't know any controller that really does this part of it great. Here's the first thing now these are DAW related issues, because what I'm about to tell you doesn't work well in Studio One, but it works flawlessly in Cubase because I've tried it. I may even show you that. So for example, there's two things about any DAW controller I've ever used that I hate. And this is just my own personal feeling. One is, when I touch something on the hardware, I want it to mirror on the screen what I'm doing. I want that exact feedback. So for example, got track 1 here selected. And by the way, every one of these tracks have select, mute, solo, arm record. So if you want to record a track, if you're recording with your full transport section, it's got all of that, and it's got encoders at the top, which we'll talk about. But for example, I'm on track 1 here, the kick track. It's the purple track in the bottom right, left-hand corner of the console 1, or excuse me, Studio 1. If I go to track 2, you'll see it advances and it highlights the track in Studio One. And you go, well, big deal. Yeah, that's pretty standard. They all do that. Back to track 1. Here's one of the things that I hate about DAW controllers. I only have 15 visible tracks on my screen. Okay, if you go all the way over to my Studio One here, all the way over, I have track 14, which is over here. And if I click in the DAW, you'll see it switches here on the console. I keep saying console 1 on the QCon. I only have 15 tracks that are visible, but this thing has 24, 25 tracks in it. I'm back here on track 1. If I reach all the way over here and touch one of these tracks that are not visibly on the screen, look what happens in the mixer in Studio One. You say, what? I don't see anything. That's right, you don't see anything. It doesn't advance. Let me go back. Kick is highlighted. I come over here and I go to a track that is not visible on the screen. The track will highlight. I can use the fader. It will work, but you don't see it on the screen until I come over here with my little mousy poo and drag it all the way over, and then here it is. I don't like that, because I want to see on the screen when I do that. Now you can say, oh, what's the problem there? That is a Studio One problem. It's not the controller, because this works flawlessly in Cubase, and I'll show you that in a bit. That's one thing I don't like. The other thing that I don't like about this, and it doesn't do this well in Cubase either, unfortunately, is the whole deal with plug-in control and plug-in mapping. It works, but it's clunky. And what do I mean by clunky? For example, I have, let's just say on track 1 here, I have this CLA mix-up here. You can't really see it too well. Okay, down here I have the CLA mix-up, okay? And you can technically map any control on a plugin to any one of the encoders that you have. So in my case, I have 24 encoders because I have 3 banks of 8 faders, right? 3 banks. So I can program or MIDI map up to 24 controls if you wanted to do that. If you had more faders, you'd have more encoders, you can do more or less, whatever, but you can do that. That's cool. That's not very unique, but it's a little clunky. One thing that you can't see because of the lighting and the way the camera is there's 2 LCD screens on this thing, and all the plugin parameters are up on this top LCD screen. And I can't show it to you tonight, but you hit plugin over here in the master section, will bring up all the control names. But the LCD, although it looks really good, the names are very jumbled together, and it's very difficult to read to know what control it really is. You almost have to memorize it. And again, that just has to do with the type of plugin, the way the plugin, the little parameters are named, and the way they show up on the LCD screen. So it's not very intuitive. So for example, if I take that first encoder, you'll see down here on my plugin, this is the line input on this plugin, and it works. I mapped it there. And if you don't know how to map one, every DAW is different. But in Studio One, you click this little cog wheel. Oh, you can't see it. At the top of every plugin, there's a little cog wheel up here where my cursor is. You open that up, and then you see this thing where it says this little drop down arrow. This is my, whoops, wrong one. This is my, this is picking my controller. And then a little box pops up, and this is my little mapping area. So then what I can do is, let's say, you can see I pre-mapped all of these. I can unassign these and do it for you. If I right click and say unassign, I can unassign this plugin from these controls, right? So if I want the first control, my first encoder to control the line input, the line in on the plugin, all I have to do is come over here, click on line, move it a little bit. Up in the top left-hand corner of the plugin, it says pre-line, and then there's a little hand here. I just left-click, drag that hand to the first box, and now that first encoder will control the line level, right? If I want the next one to say be, I don't know, my low-cut filter, I just click on the low-cut filter at the top of the plugin here. Again, this plugin window, you may not be able to see too well right here. It'll say high pass filter, but you see how it says pre-HP cutoff frequency? That's what shows up on the LCD screen. And so you get these real long, kind of half abbreviated names, and then everything jumbles together and you can't read it on the screen. Again, that's not a controller issue. It's just the way the plugin and the DAW works. You just left click, drag it over here. So now if I take the controller, I can control my low cut filter, and you'll see that down here. There you go. Boop, 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 boop. Okay. And you could do that with your EQ, your compressor. You can do that with everything. Now, what's supposed to happen is if I do this once on the plugin one time, if I drag another instance of the plugin over, it's supposed to be pre-mapped no matter what track I put it on. Sometimes the plugins do that. Sometimes they do not. It depends on the plugin. It's not very consistent. So I'm going to close this one. I'm going to delete the ones that were on tracks, the rest of the other drum tracks here. And I'm going to go to the browser. And I'm going to bring another instance of that plugin on here that I just mapped. And sometimes the controls, they work, and sometimes they don't. And it depends on the plugin. The stock plugins seem to work better than different third-party plugins. It depends on the third-party plugins, and they actually say that on the Icon website. They acknowledge that this issue is there, and they say there's not much they can do. It's the plugin manufacturer. It's not them. Or it's or Studio One. So here's the next one. Here's the one for the snare. So if I go back to the, I'm going to try to, let me try to shrink this up a little here so I get a little more real estate on the screen so you guys can see the screen a little bit better here. Okay. So here's our plugin. I'm on track 1 here. Okay. You can see that the plugin changes to the kick track. Those controls still work. If I go to number 2, okay, now it's not working. The plugin switched, but the controls are not mapped, and they're supposed to be. On certain plugins, that works really well. On other plugins, it does not work very well. I don't know why. It doesn't. It should. So I'm not really sure what that is. I've tried it with different plugins. Some plugins, this works flawlessly. Some plugins, it does not. It depends on the plugin that you want to use. And again, in talking with Icon personally and asking them about that, they say, yeah, it really depends on the plugin. So what I've learned when it comes to plugin control, none of these surface controls do it really well. They all do it okay to some degree. Cubase has the same problem, by the way. It depends on your plugins. Some of the stock plugins work flawlessly. Some of them do not. So when you're looking for, is there with a surface control using the encoders to get faster at manipulating plugins? If you have a plugin that you can map and it stays mapped on every single one, I know I'm using the light version of the plugin. It's the same instance I was using before. And so it doesn't always work. At least I think it was, wasn't it? Because I did this 3 or 4 times already. Oh, maybe I did not. Did I screw that up? If I screwed that up, I apologize, but I've tried this at least 4 times with different plugins. Let me go and grab the other one. Here it is right here. Now watch, it'll probably make a liar of me. That would be interesting if it did. So let me go back to the kick. Boom, boom, boom. Let me go to the snare. No, it still doesn't work. So I don't know. Nope, it doesn't work. So it's the same plugin instance. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't work. I don't know why. So that's a little clunky. And so I haven't been able to find a combination of plugins where that really works seamless. Now, when I did it, I believe when I did it on the PreSonus plugins, it worked better, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, because this one I did the ratio, I did the attack and the release, all that's working. And I did the threshold on this compressor here. Okay, I did these top four encoders. And that was on this one. If I click over to the next one, Yes. So on the stock plugin, it seems to work, and I'll delete it from this track, and I'll go back and add another one of those compressors from PreSonus from the browser just to see if it works. So plugin control, it's a crapshoot. It's a crapshoot. So let me grab that compressor and drop it on here and see if it works. Yes, it does. So the stock plugins seem to work. Maybe some of the third-party plugins work and maybe some of them do not, depending on which ones you're using. So that's kind of, you know, it depends on how you feel about that, to be honest. I find that to be frustrating, to be honest. I don't want to have to choose the plugins that I want to use based on which one of these will stay mapped and which ones won't. But again, I can't fault the controller of that, I don't think. I think that has a lot to do with the plugin manufacturer in and of itself and or the DAW. Same problem in Cubase. So those are the two main things with Studio One that I feel like are clunky. Like I said, it's the when you do not get the exact mirrored response on the screen to what you do on the hardware, and the plugin control is a little clunky. The other thing, but some of the other features that I really do like about this, like I said, you can program all these buttons to do things like open and close the browser, open and close the mixer. You can add inserts. You can do all of that kind of stuff. But the one thing about this that's a little bit hard is, I remember I said this insert here, there's all kinds of little text on it so you can see which each one of the buttons do, but it's almost impossible to read if you're sitting half an arm's length away. They're not illuminated on the background, so you almost have to kind of memorize what the buttons do. I have seen some users on YouTube actually put little labels on the buttons so they can remember what they do, because it's very difficult to read without having to look over the top of it. So from an ergonomic standpoint, it's kind of but I do like the fact that you can open and close this thing. You can use your arrow keys down here to select tracks like this. You can zoom in and out on your timeline with just the arrow keys. You don't have to use the mouse or the keyboard. That's really cool. So their transport section, they have a jog wheel here as well, which works really good. It's really smooth. You know, fast forward, rewind, loop, all that stuff works pretty well. I will say it does work well. And so that's really nice. So, if you just had, 4 or 5 function keys, there's 8 of them up here that you can program to do whatever you want. And if your most common features like opening, closing, mixers and stuff like that. I hate when it does that. And opening, closing browser windows and mixer windows and those sorts of things, I think it's great for that kind of a thing. It's fantastic. Let's see what else compared to something like the Softube Console 1. The Softube Console 1 is a different animal. Now, from a plugin control standpoint, and let me see, is there any questions before I move on here? I mean, I could just turn on the audio and show you how the faders move, and we'll do that. But that I don't know that really, we could see the audio, we could see the meter bridge. If you want to see the meter bridge, we can do that. So you can see the meter bridge and see how everything works once I get some audio playing. Let's see here. Play. You don't hear the audio because I turned down the master fader right this moment. But let me see. I could take a couple of questions if you want, if there's anything I can answer before we move on here. Let me see here. I'll just scroll. I'll start from the you said the inventor says the black backgrounds hurts my sight. You mean the black backgrounds of this? Yeah, it's kind of, it's nice looking, but it's difficult to read. I will say even the buttons up here, it's hard to tell what they do. But I mean, again, you have all the different mute, solo, arm, all that stuff. David asks, yeah, Dave, yeah, you could be right about that, but I'll be honest, I've tried these with multiple plugins. Plugin Alliance, I've tried it with Slate Digital, I've tried it with a bunch. I did a bunch. You could be right about the whole shell thing with Waves. I don't know if that's really the case, but I've tried them with several different plugins, and some of them worked okay, and some of them didn't work okay. I certainly didn't try everything I own, as you wouldn't expect me to, but I did do enough of them. I don't think it's just Waves. Let's see. John says, thank you for testing live. Appreciate it. You're welcome, John. But you're using the light version. Yep, I checked that out, John, but I put the regular version on and it's no different. Again, now I will be honest, there was a couple of times with, I think, Plugin Alliance where one time it worked okay and one time it didn't work okay. So there's something finicky that's going on, you know, in the protocol or something. I'm really not sure why that is. JB says in Waves, this is better than the Behringer. Is this better? I don't know about the X Touch. I've never used it, so I couldn't tell you. No, Teal Beats, this is not Console 1. This is the Icon QCon Pro X. You can go check that out, Console 1 I mean, on the channel. There's already a bunch of videos there. Steven says that his fader port jumps to the track when you select it off screen, but that's probably due to the right integration with Studio One, which is your DAW. Yes, I've done the fader port as well. You could go check out those videos. That has some things it does really good, and there's some other things that's really quirky about that one as well. Let's see. Crypto is, oh, hi Ian, how you doing? You changed your name again? Dude, you always change your name. Let's see. JB says, how much did this cost? This unit as it sits here is right around 3,500 US dollars. Dave says, give me the strength to not buy this. No, you wouldn't buy. I wouldn't think, Dave, you'd buy this. It's cool. Here's something else though. Let me scroll down to the bottom. I'll get to your, I'll keep going on with questions. Here's something else. The only controller that does a killer job with plugins control-wise is really that Softtube Console 1. If you're using their channel stripping, you saw the live streaming, you can use their different plugins or different channel strips along with universal audio plugins. That channel strip part of the fader port, part of the Console 1, is the most intuitive and the best I've ever seen any controller do. Way better for plugin control than something like this. Way better for plugin control than any other surface control I've ever used. That one is great. I've seen people have the QCon for the faders and then also had a Softtube Console 1 for their plugin control. That's an option that you can do as well. Again, if you had the real estate in the space, you can kind of have the best of both worlds there. When you plug in a Console 1 with this, they will work in tandem with each other. Okay, so that's an option. Everything else that this thing does, I think is better than the Console 1, except for the plugin control. So when people ask, you know, what should I get? I think Philip was asking, should I get this or should I get the Console 1? It really depends on your workflow, and it depends on what your expectations of the controller is. If you're looking for, I want something small, compact, does plugin control really, really well, has a good suite of plugins that come with it, so I don't have to have a whole bunch of plugins, talking about the Softtube Console 1, or the Softtube plugins along with universal audio, doesn't take up a lot of space, works really, really well, great. That's the unit for you. If you're looking for something that has more of the large console feel, that gives you a little more room to spread out, that has a full transport section, which the Console 1 does not have, has all the functionality of a master section to open and close windows and do a lot more general tasks in the DAW, this does that. The Console 1 is limited in that respect. This you can add more faders to. If you wanted more faders, the Console 1, although you can daisy chain those banks of 10 faders. We did one of them, we did 20. They say there's no limit to how many you can do, but I have only tried 20 and the 20 worked well. But this you can do up to 64. Again, that could be overkill, but you can do it. So there are really two different types of products. If you're someone that also does some recording and you're looking for some hand-on tactile feel for transport control, track arming, punching in and out, those kinds of things, Softtube Console 1 doesn't do that, at least not easily. This is made to do that kind of stuff. So it's for mixing, it's for DAW control, recording. It's a little bit more fully featured in that respect than Console 1. Console 1 is marketed as a mixing system. It's really focused on mixing. It's not really focused on recording. So that's kind of the main differences of it. Again, you can put as many faders with that Console 1 as you want together, but you've seen it. When you do that, it looks like a bunch of parts that are just kind of slapped together on your desk. This has much more of a professional install kind of a feel. That may not mean anything to you, but if it does, then this is something to look at. This has got the really cool meter bridges. You don't get that with console one. So they're different products. They're both great at what they do, but none of them do it all perfectly. But I will say, if I was going to buy one of these, if this was going to be my centerpiece, but I still wanted that plug-in control, I would probably do 32 or 40 faders, and I would have a soft tube console one. Like, instead of having my keyboard, you know, my type keyboard, I'd have a soft tube console one there to control my plugins and do everything else on the QCon, because now you have almost everything you need. Understanding that, you're going to use mostly the soft tube plugins. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Let me answer a few more questions here if I can. Let's see. Question: are the meter bridges working in pre-fader mode when the DAW is set to input metering? Yes. No, I believe it's output. But I think you can change that. There is a way in the menu system to go in and calibrate and change the way the meters respond. But I believe it is post fader is what these are, the way these meters read right now. But I think, again, I think you can change that. I think you can change that. So this hardware looks similar to the DigiDesign DAW controller. Yeah, I haven't spent a lot of time looking. You're talking about the old DigiDesigns? Yes, they feel a little bit more like that. Yes. Yes. Let's see. Mark says, hey, Mark, you have one and had one for a year. It works for me, but I don't use it for plugins, but your review sounds right. Okay, cool. Okay, great. Thanks, Mark, for chiming in. I'm glad you have one. You have one of these. You have the QCon Pro X. So I'm on pretty much on the same page as you. Great. Okay, that's good. That's good confirmation, but you don't use it for plugins. Right. This is not something, even though it can do plugins to some degree, it's too, for me, personally for me, it's too clunky of a kind of half-ass works. I wouldn't do this with plugins. For faders, for transport, for all the other things I talked about, this would be the unit I would buy. Without question, if the plugin control is not as big of a deal to you. Great, Mark. Thank you. I would like to request how you get your first few clients out of the gate. I was thinking about flyers. Okay, ask that in a little bit when we do Jim. We want to try to stick to the console one for now, but once we're done with the demonstration and we've run out of those questions, ask me that again and I'll talk about it towards the end of the stream if you don't mind hanging around. Okay? Yes, sir. Okay, Mark. Great. Perfect. Thanks. The other thing that I've noticed, again, this is more of a Studio One thing, I believe, more than anything else, is sometimes, again, Mark, what DAW do you use with your unit here? I want to see if you have this problem. Sometimes I notice, again, when I'm changing around on the tracks, it works. But like, see that select button right here? See that select button that stays lit? I can't get it to unlight. You got to hit things sometimes 2, 3, and 4 times. When I'm selecting tracks, sometimes these lights get a little stuck. I'll get all the way to the end here. I'll go over to the next page. I'll go back, and right now it seems to be working fine, but there's been several times where the track select gets stuck. Not really sure why that is. Again, I don't know if that's just a glitch in the communication between this and the DAW. If you're moving too fast and you're kind of flying around, that maybe there's a little bit of a glitch there. It doesn't happen a lot, but I've noticed that does happen. Okay, Mark says use Pro Tools. Okay, great. Okay, so again, right now it seems to be working okay, but that's cool. The other thing, again. And I guess I could pull, like I said, when you touched, the other thing I don't like about this, when I touch fader 1, they're touch sensitive. You see down on the left-hand side of the console how it doesn't even highlight the kick track. It moves the fader, but it doesn't highlight it. I have to hit the select button. Cubase, you touch the fader, it automatically highlights the track and it advances the mixer, like I said. So it's a little bit more intuitive that way. I don't have to touch a select button at all in Cubase. I don't know about Pro Tools, Mark, but in Cubase, all I got to do is touch a fader. The track and the DAW will light up, the select light will automatically advance, and I can see on the screen exactly what I'm doing. I kind of like that. Let's see. Can I do a multi-select? I believe you can. I do multi-select? I believe you can. I think you got to hold the shift key. And again, and I'm looking at this, I can't even see the writing, and I haven't got the muscle memory down to to see which one. I think if you hold the shift key, maybe you might be able to do that. I know when you solo, can you do that? Oh, here's another thing that drives me crazy. I just noticed this. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. If I hold now, I know I could do it with, oh, wait a minute. See, that's really weird. Okay, now this is a little bit of a bug here that I haven't noticed. I'm trying to hit the solo and the mute buttons. They're not working. They've always worked for me before. Selecting tracks. I'm on my assignment, the proper assignment. These should light up, and they don't. I'm not really sure why. And again, I don't know, because Icon said this to me, because again, I'm running video and I'm doing lives. I got other things going on here in this computer right now, a lot more heavy tasks that maybe some of that is getting interrupted. I will tell you that when I would hit all these buttons before, they always worked flawlessly. So I'm not really sure why right now that's not working, but I just noticed that the arms, select, solo, mute buttons are not working. Again, I wouldn't fault the QCon for this. I would fault the DAW. I don't see how you do a multi-select unless you held down another layer button here. Now, I don't see how that works exactly. But then again, all the solos and the mute buttons worked for me before, and now none of them work. Now, let's do something here. Let's go back here for a minute. Let me boot up Cubase. And let me just see how that. Let me boot up Cubase. And let's see how that kind of compares. I got to close Studio One first though. So all the faders will snap down. Let me just get my Cubase file. You guys have any, let's see, any other questions? Get my Cubase session out here. This is Cubase Pro 12, by the way. Not saying it wouldn't work with the other versions of Cubase. I'm sure it would. But this is Cubase Pro 12 that we're going to look at here in a second. JBeats wants to know, does it allow you to control third-party plugins and mixing mastering? Yeah, if you've been listening, or you may just join this, JBeats. It does, but it's got a lot of quirkiness about it. It's not very consistent and stable, I'll tell you that. But the answer to your question is yes. Okay, here we're back on the screen. So now we're in Cubase, okay? So I touch the fader, it automatically moves in the console. See that? No select, all the select buttons change, everything changes, everything works, right? Come back over here. I only have 15 tracks visible on the screen. If I touch this track, you see how the console moves all the way down? And now I can, oh, I'm not looking at my faders, I'm looking at my inserts, but here you go. There you go. Fader, boom, 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 boom. I go back to track one. It snaps all the way back to track one. That in and of itself, to me, it makes a difference for me personally. I also notice now that the mutes and the solo buttons are working. So I don't know, again, if it, maybe if I reboot Studio One, it'll work too. Again, it could be something else going on with the video and that kind of thing here. So that could be part of it. But they're very smooth in Cubase. They do work well. Like I said, I love the fact that I don't need to touch the select button. It automatically works. Everything kind of works really well, really nice, very smooth. I will even say that I feel like that when I move these faders, the response on the screen in my hand, there's no lag at all. It's dead perfect. Studio One at times feels like there could just be a little bit of a hiccup, and sometimes it feels like there's a little drag. Again, it's not that big of a deal. I'm the only reason why I'm telling you these things is because this is why I don't think it has anything to do with the controller. I think it has more to do with the DAW and the way it works with the controller. This works really, really well. Really, really well. From what limited testing I've done with it. So I can take two faders. Now, can we do multi-select here? Again, I'm not sure. I got to think you can. I know you probably have to hold one of these buttons. Let me see if I can figure it out. Yeah, I don't see which button I'd have to hold to do that. But they also have, by the way, a full automation section here. So in other words, you can look on track 1. I can read, I can write, you can latch and touch. Again, I have the Studio One insert in here right now, but there's a full automation section here as well, which works really well. Again, all the mutes and the solos, all the track arm button works as well. So all of that seems to be working okay. Turn that off. And so that's going to be pretty good. So I like it better in Cubase. that was the conclusion I came to as I did some testing. Some of these things work a little bit better in Cubase than it does in Studio One for me. And again, Mark says he has it here and it works great for him in Pro Tools. I haven't used it with every single DAW, so I don't know. But I will tell you the mapping of the plugins in Cubase is the same as it was in Studio One. Stock plugins, no problem. Third-party plugins, depends on which ones you're trying to use. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Okay. You also have, you know, obviously you'll have, you know, panning. Oh, I'm not on panning. So we have panning here. You can do all that stuff. You can flip the faders, so you can have the faders do what the encoder's doing and the encoder's doing what the faders are doing. That would be cool for something like send levels and those kinds of things. So it's got a lot of great stuff in it. I think it just really comes down to what you and your workflow, what you need and what you find important and what you find you can deal with. It's not a big deal. That's how I think you have to decide between something like this versus something like the Console 1 or something like the fader port or the UF8. They all do something very, very similar and they all do their own thing really well. But there's nothing out there that does it all and does it perfectly. At least I haven't seen one yet. Does that make sense? Is there any more questions about this unit at all? Anything else you want to ask me? Again, I've only had this thing a few weeks. I haven't had it long enough to get into every single nook and cranny of this thing because that's not what I do. Basically, what I do is I bring these things in. If you're a new user or someone who's thinking about buying one of these things, how quickly can you get up and running? What are the main things that you need to know and how well do they work? Are there workarounds for all these things? Are there little customizable things that you can do to get over some of the quirks with your specific DAW? Probably. But just be aware that you may have to do that. It's not all just plug and play right out of the box. There are some things that you'll have to compromise on. Let's see. Let me just scroll up a little bit here. Crypto says this is a firmware problem. No, firmware is updated. I've already done that. I've been doing this a while, my friend. No, I'm kidding. Yes, firmware is completely updated. And everything that I'm telling you about the problems and the little quirkiness, I have talked with Icon about this. And they know. And they said, yes, we know on some of these things. They acknowledge that some of these things are issues. And they're trying to work with the different companies to get some of these things cleared up. But they'll say that, you know, depending on the company, they're a little bit more receptive. Some are more than others. So it's not always easy. And some of it is out of their hands, unfortunately. So that's just, you know, that's just the way it is. Some of the things they can't do, you know, they're trying to make a DAW controller that is compatible with every DAW out there and does most things well. But it's not going to do everything perfect with every digital audio workstation. And they realize that. The faders should work for automation. It does work for automation. There's automation here. It will work for automation. Yes, absolutely it does. Let's see. Rick says, hey, Rick, how you doing? I know your comment's hard to see on here. Okay, anyway, Digital Performer, Pro Tools, Reaper Live, Samplitude, no problem. Yep, it does all of them. Let's see. You believe we can swap the solo button with the listen button? Maybe you can. Maybe you can. Okay, let's see. On the Studio Live 32, you would have to hold down. You would have to select held down for multi-select. Maybe that's one has shift or another. I don't see a shift key on here. I looked for one. I don't see one. That's part of the issue. I don't see one. Again, I'm sure you can. I'm sure there's a way to do it. You know, they have those basic functions. Philip says it looks like it would be fine for Uendo. Yes, for Cubase and Uendo, to me, it works better. It works better. Let's see. Okay, so those are the questions so far on this particular thing. So is there anything else you guys want to see on this? I mean, yeah, I could turn on the audio and you can listen to some audio, but I mean, really, this is more, I think, more to just show you how does this thing work. And here, like I said, you know, how does it respond? How does it feel? What are the build quality and all of that stuff? And like I said, it does work well. It is a great looking unit. It looks killer. It feels really good. I wouldn't hesitate to buy this if you were looking more for the fader and the transport functionality and you wanted a centerpiece for your studio that looks and feels like it's a pro level piece of equipment. This feels like a pro level piece of equipment without a shadow of a doubt. Just be aware that your DAW may have a couple little quirks and that the plug-in control is kind of hit or miss. But if you're someone who doesn't care about the plug-in control, and if there's only one or two little quirks and you feel you can get over that with your DAW, then you should be fine. Or if you're someone who uses multiple DAWs and you want kind of a seamless switch between those DAWs with this thing, I think you're going to be in good shape as well. Just be aware again. I don't know, Mark, how many faders you have on your unit. Just be aware it does take up a lot of space on the desk. You kind of need some real estate, but it does work. It works. And it works kind of well. It really does. It's a nice unit. You know, price wise, again, you're in the Studio Live series price bracket. You're in the Studio Live price bracket. 35 to 5,000 bucks, depending on how many of these things you have. Let's see. Crypto says, oh, okay. Let's see. Here we go. Do you correct this directly to a computer or a hub in series? Okay, that's a great question. Thanks for asking that. So there's two ways you can do this. This center unit has has a built-in USB hub right on it. So in other words, you plug the extenders USB into the main unit. Main unit goes out to your computer, one computer port. That's one way to do it. However, I have been told by Icon themselves, depending on, you know, your computer and the specs and this, that, and the other thing, that sometimes they have experienced where sometimes one of the extenders will lose connection when you plug it directly into the main unit. So they recommend, and the way I have this hooked up, and I have not had any problem with it losing connection, is they make a powered, Icon does, called the One Hub, and it is a USB as well as AC power distribution hub. And that allows you to take the power, the AC power, plug it into one unit on one side, and then all the units USB-wise plug into the other side, and then that hub goes directly into your computer. And that seems to work really, really well from a stable point of view. That One Hub unit that I'm talking about that they sell does not come with this. It's an additional, I want to say it's $150 or $200. It's a little pricey, but it makes the install a little cleaner. You only need one USB port on your computer, and you only need one power cord into the wall because all the AC power from the units plug into that. So it makes it a little bit more streamlined of an install, but it is an additional cost. But however, you can plug the USB portions into the center unit, but then you run the risk on occasion, sometimes they drop connection. At least that's what they told me. Again, I don't know if that's, I haven't experienced that myself. So I hope that helps. Let's see. Let's see. Once again, the link for the thing. Okay, yeah. Dave's got some links in the chat. Thanks, Dave, for doing that. Inventor says, what do you got here? I improved my computer with 2 SSDs on a 2 terabyte and 7 teras of virtual instruments. Okay. New computer outside the room with long cables. Motors equals noise. I prefer silence. Okay, great. Cool. Let's see. You got some other things going on you guys are talking about. That's great. And Chris saying 5K for that. It's like having a Studio Live 64 and maybe a fader port beside it. But no, it's not. It's not quite 5K. It's less than that. It's unless the prices have just recently gone up a lot. When I priced this out, this thing right here was about $3,200, $3,300, I think. I think that's the number, unless the prices have changed depending on where you're looking for it. So it's not quite $5,000. It's not quite $5,000. I had a Studio Live many years ago. I had it when it briefly was able to control the DAW. I didn't think it was that great, but it's been a lot of years and there's probably been a lot of improvements. So if you ask me, how does this compare to a Studio Live? I couldn't tell you because I haven't had a Studio Live in here in a long time. I don't know. But the Studio Live has preamps. You can record in it. It's a live mixer as well as a DAW control. So there's a lot of things, you know, there that aren't here. Certainly, for sure. Let's see. You're welcome. I appreciate it. Rick says, I use a power USB 3 hub for them. Okay, cool. Yep, you can do that, I guess. Yep. Your inventor says that the console won't fit in your camping tent that easily. Your this thing won't fit. Yeah, no, it takes up a lot of room. It does take up a lot of space. But it's cool, man. I'll tell you, if again, I'll say it again. If this was my main mixing rig, if this is what I was doing, I would have 32 or 40 faders of this, and I would have the soft tube console one for the plug-in thing if I wanted to do that, and that's how I would use this. And I think it would be cool. I think it would be really cool. That's what I think I would do. If it was me, that's what I was going to do. This would be a centerpiece, and then if I wanted really to control plugins, I'd use the console one. If I didn't care about that, I would just use the plug-in control with my mouse like you always do, and just do all of my functionality, my transport, my faders. I would do all of that on this thing. So I mean, it gives you all of that, and it it has the right look and feel and the quality as well. So that's what I would do. That's what I would do. Let's see, any other questions about this or any questions at all? I know some of you had a couple other questions that were a little off topic. I don't mind answering those. But if you have any questions more about this, like I said, there is a 7-part, I think it's 7 or 8, 7 videos coming up on this thing in the next 2 weeks. They've already been recorded and uploaded. We did everything from an unboxing to an install and how you hook up all the USB like we were talking about. I go behind the desk and show you all of that. We go through some of the functionality I showed you tonight. We go through how we change the insert and change the different DAWs. It goes into all of that stuff. So it'll be a little bit more of a detailed look, broken down into smaller videos. Oh, you're welcome, T-Breaks, for answering your question. No problem. Let's see. Crypto says, live mixing and a DAW controller, all in one. That's the specific reason why I got the XL32. Great. It's a great mixer, I'm sure. I had to think twice if I wanted few 8 or 16 USB interface. Yeah, that's great, man. I mean, what you got's a great thing. If that works for you, again, they're all great. You just have to know whatever your workflow really, whatever your workflow demands, you got to kind of fit the controller for it, because they're all a little bit different. They're all a little bit different, and they all have their pros and their cons, right? Let's see. Let's see. Big console is not what I consider home, what I consider easy home recording. I don't know what that means. What do you, I have 900 videos on YouTube, my friend, and I have a whole online school for absolute easy beginner stuff. There's tons of stuff I have available. This just happens to be a series about some equipment. And the reason why I'm doing this is because a lot of my followers and viewers have asked me for surface control comparisons and stuff. And that's why I'm doing it. So, you know, we try to satisfy everybody here. Let's see. Philip asks, just to be clear, once you map a third-party plugins in Cubase, are they saved in the DAW or the Icon controller? I'm told they're saved in the DAW. And you only should have to map them once, and every time you drag them back into your session or into a new session, they should work. Some of those I've had that work well, like I said, with some stock plugins and a couple of third-party plugins. Other ones, as you saw tonight, don't work well. So it depends on the plugin, but that's how I understand it. Again, you can also email Icon, and you can get a more definitive answer. But I'm I'm fairly certain it's saved in the DAW. So in other words, if you went from Cubase to Studio One and you had the same plugin in both DAWs, you'd have to map it in each one of those DAWs. I'm almost certain of that. I'm 99% certain of that, but don't hold me to that 100% because I don't want to lie to you and tell you something that's not true, but I'm almost certain. Oops. Okay, home recording made easy. Like to request on how you get your first few clients out of the gate. I was thinking of flyers at the park to start. It's one way to do it. I don't have luxury of in-person sessions just yet. First kind of clients to do what? Recording, mixing. I mean, in basic terms, if you're looking for clients in anything in today's day and age, you want to at least have some kind of an online presence. You want to have yourself just a simple website. You don't need something fancy, but just a simple website. So people know who you are, they know how to find you, they know how to contact you. If you're doing recording or mixing or both, you want to have some examples of your website on your website of the kind of quality of work that you are able to turn out, and you want to constantly update that as you get better at what you do. You want to have a presence on as much social media as you possibly can so people know who you are. In your local area, things like flyers are a great idea. I did that for many years. If you're looking to record local artists, you want to go out to your local music venues and you want to try to meet other artists, other bands. You want to try to, go out there and, what do they say? Shake hands and kiss babies like a politician, right? You want to go out and network and meet people. That's how you get your first few clients. You're going to probably do some work up front for free or for next to free just to get people into your studio, or you work on their music. And then that's how you start to develop a reputation. And then it just becomes networking and it becomes word of mouth, and it takes time. Don't expect that you're going to go from zero to hero overnight. It doesn't work like that. No matter how good you are at what you do, it takes time. And as long as you're willing to put the time in, I'm sure you could do it. You can do it. Okay, let's see. For the shift button, look above the jog wheel and to the left. I can't see it. I don't see anything on this thing. It's above the jog wheel to the left. Nowhere on this thing does it say shift. So I'm not seeing it. Ernest says that it actually, the plugin stuff is indeed saved in the DAW. Okay, great. Thank you for confirming that, just to be sure. Thanks a million for all you do. Great informative channel. Thank you, Philip. I appreciate that. I hope this was helpful to you in some way. Again, you can always check the Icon website for more information. Let's see. The DAW saves all of your progress. So when you go back, you don't have to remember where you left off. That's correct. That's right. What's your opinion on the Behringer X32 ecosystem? I know they have a digital mixer and a USB stage set too. I don't know. I've never used it. I know they're popular. I know a lot of people use them. I've never been a huge fan of Behringer products in that I know they make a lot of cheap gear, and that's not always a bad thing. But I don't want to say that about the X32 because I've never put my hands on one. All I know is if I had to buy an X32 or buy a PreSonus Studio Live, I buy a Studio Live every single time without hesitation, only because I've had Studio Lives and I know how the quality of their products are. But I'm sure there's people out there that own the Behringer that like it as well, but I've never used it. I've never used it personally. So I couldn't, let's see. Oh yeah, check out mixingmadeeasy.net. There you go. So if you want to join a community of people that all get better at the craft of mixing in a very non-technical way, check out mixingmadeeasy.net. I've actually demoed this on the last month's content for my members, so they got to see the QCon in action. I did the same thing with the Softube Console 1, and next month we're going to do something on a real SSL console, which is going to be a lot of fun that you can't see because my thing is in the way. So I'm going to turn this up so now you can see it. There we go. So there you go. The shift button is to the left of the 8 assignable function buttons. It is. That button just says layers, and I tried that button. Let me look on this one. Maybe I'm just not seeing it. Okay, if you say there's a function button or a shift button, there is. But I'm looking at both of these inserts, and nowhere do I see the word shift. So, sorry about that. Let's see. Oops, let me get rid of David's comment there. Okay, let's see. Back to starting clients. Would open mics be possible site? Yes, absolutely. If you wanna get musicians to hire you to do work, go to where the musicians are. It's that simple. Open mics, local bands, local artists, depending on where you live. They may have different groups, songwriting groups get together, musicians. Go to where the musicians are. Post your flyers in music stores if you have any music stores around where you live. Those kinds of things. But yes, open mics, anywhere you can meet musicians that may want to record or mix or whatever you're doing, that's where I would go. Absolutely. Okay, do we have any other questions? Anything else? Anything else about this or about anything else in general? Again, stay tuned to the channel so you can see all more in-depth review on this thing. Also, there'll be more, I think there's a couple more, maybe 2 more of the SoftTube Console 1 stuff that you guys could check out. We have another video going up next week, and you can check all of those out. Let's see, what else is going on? Make sure, again, you go to homerecordingmadeeasy.com and get your free mixing course. It's right on the website. You can't mix it. You can't mix it. You can't miss it. Let's see. J Beats and Waves. I want a mid-mixer controller that does everything, including third-party plugins and VST instruments. There isn't one. Again, I'm only going to tell you the ones that I've used. I've used the Fader Port 16, the SSL UF8, the SSL UC1, the SoftTube Console 1, the QCon Pro X. That's 5. None of them are perfect and does everything you want it to do perfectly. None of them do. None of them. So if you want a mid-mixer controller that does everything, including controlling third-party plugins, there is no such thing that does it perfectly. They all claim that they do everything that you just said. This one says it does everything that you just said, and it does, as you saw tonight, to some degree. But there is some quirks with it. And it depends on the DAW you're using. It depends on the plugin you're using. If you're willing to be flexible on some of the VSTs and plugins and the DAWs and stuff to get your particular controller to work seamlessly for what your workflow is, you could probably do that. But it's not pull it out of the box, plug it into the wall, and everything just works. It does not work that way, and there isn't one on the market that I am aware of that does that. The closest thing to it is the SoftTube Console 1. However, you're limited to the plugins that they control. Although I do know that if you understand MIDI mapping, you can go in and you can do some mapping to that controller as well. But I have not tried that for myself. But with their plugins, it works flawlessly. I haven't tried it, the SoftTube Console 1, I mean. I haven't tried it with VST instruments. I'm sure it can do some of that stuff. But I don't know how well it does it. So you just have to be aware that it's not going to do everything perfectly that you want it to do. At least I don't think it does. I haven't seen one yet that does. Let's see. The X32 wins over to Studio Live because of its very, very flexible and for very little money. Okay, great. Yeah, if you use one, I've never used it. You could be right about that. I try not to comment on products I've never put my hands on, or unless I know someone that I'm very well acquainted with, that I trust their opinion and they tell me something, that I would convey that information. But I don't know anyone that has one that would tell me that that would win over the Studio Live, but it might. It might. I know it's popular. I'm sure they sell boatloads of those things. So it may be fantastic. And this is what I'll say. And Dave has it up there. And this is a good segue into Dave's putting up the Sweetwater link there. Again, I tell people all the time, when you're going to make an investment for gear, such as the QCon or for the Console 1 or the Studio Live or the X32 or anything that's, anything, but especially when you're talking about something that's a, significant amount of money, buy it from somewhere where there's a return policy. Get it into your studio, work with it for 30 or 45 days, depending on your favorite online retailer, on how long you have to return it, and see how it works in your workflow. You can watch a bunch of YouTube videos and you can watch a bunch of people like me tell you what you should buy, but in the end, it's very personal. Everybody's workflow is a little different. So I would tell you, Buy it from Sweetwater. If you don't like it, put it back in the box and send it back and get another one and try that one and see if that fits in your workflow. That's what I would do. I wouldn't spend $3 or $4 grand on something without having that kind of security. At least I wouldn't. I mean, I guess you can always flip it used on the used market, but then you're going to lose money. You know what I mean? So that's what I would say. Anyhow, Console One can control UAD plugins by default. That is right. And if you saw my live stream and if you watch it, last week's video, I show that. And you're right, it does. It does control universal audio plugins. It does. From a plugin controller, again, we're just talking about plugins now. From a plugin controller control unit, I haven't seen a better product on the market yet. I haven't. And I said that in the video, and I said that in the live stream. It's really great at that. It is. Oh, let's see. Dave, I utilize your live streams and videos to obtain information on better mixing and pro gear. So I'm very happy to find YouTube channel that I continue to subscribe to. Thanks, man. I appreciate that, brother. I'm glad. I try to do something for everybody. I mean, again, some people like, again, I can't satisfy all yous. I try to do what the majority of yous ask me for, and I try to bring you a nice mix on this channel for all different experience levels, from the absolute beginner to the advanced level person and everybody in between. I try to cover all the bases, but some people, won't be happy no matter what I put up, but I'm glad that you are. So I'm glad the channel's helping. I take your guys' advice. Again, the only reason why I'm doing these videos, the QCon Pro X, the reason why I have this in my studio is because you guys, maybe not you guys in the chat tonight, but you guys at Home Recording Made Easy asked me to get it. You also asked me to get the Console One. That's why I did it. I didn't do it because I have nothing else better to do. I got a lot of other things that are better to do than to test out these controllers for you. But I did it for you guys. So when you guys ask me this stuff, I try to give you the information that you guys are asking me for. And quite honestly, I enjoy playing with some of these units. It was fun playing with the QCon. It's a good unit. I like it. So, but thank you, Crypto. I appreciate it. Let's see. Anything else? Anything relevant you guys want to ask? Dave is asking anything relevant. Let's see. Waves are hurting for, whoops. And waves, if you are hurting for budget, try the 16. Okay. Oh, you mean the fader port? Yeah, or the Studio Live has a 16 channel mixer as well. Cool. Okay, any more last questions before we wrap up tonight? Anything else you want to know about this QCon Pro X or about any of these other things or anything at all? That's why I'm here, to try to help you. Again, you can watch these. There'll be, like I said, 6 or 7 more videos. They're all coming over the next couple of weeks. Sean says that unfortunately Sweetwater doesn't carry the icon. That is true. They used to. I don't know if they, maybe they did, Sean. I wasn't aware that they did any in the past. I know they don't currently. Not really sure why that is, to be honest. If they used to carry it, why they don't anymore. But I wasn't even aware that they did. But yes, you're correct. This you cannot buy at Sweetwater currently. But there's other online retailers that sell it. I believe Alto Music sells it. They're a good online retailer. I've bought from them before. I believe Musician's Friends sells it. They're another decent online retailer as well. And I'm sure there's others, but if you go on to Icon's website, there is a list of, different online retailers and where you can buy it from. I even believe B&H Photo actually sells it, which was a little surprising, but okay, they sell it as well. So you can buy it for, from a reputable, company, What about an Icon free giveaway? You can't be serious, right? No, I don't have the luxury to do that, my friend. Sean says American Music Supply. Right. They carry it as well. That's true. Dave says the entire Guitar Center carries Icon. Oh, okay, good. So there's a lot of great online retailers. Yeah, you can buy them from a bunch of people. Yeah, you can buy them from a bunch of people. It's a good unit, as I said. It's a good unit. If you can get over some of the little quirks, it's a great unit. Does the software that comes with the G2 has software to change the function button? You can create your own shift button. That's correct. You're right, Ernest. And it also does the IMAP software we talked about earlier in this broadcast. You can customize these buttons. So you can make your own shift button and that kind of thing. I believe that is absolutely true. There is a lot of customization that you can do to this if you want to do to it. So it does have that going for it as well. Again, that's something that's a little different than something like the Softube Console 1. You really don't have that ability like you do on this. So again, it depends on your workflow and what's important to you. They all have a little bit different feature sets, but you're absolutely correct. What's the best stock plugin? Oh, let me see that. You personally say to use all the time Studio One. I forgot what people say. I'm asking for your opinion and takes. What is the best stock plugin that you personally say to use all the time in Studio One? What is the best stock plugin? I don't know. Not sure I understand the way it's written, or I'm not understanding. All stock plugins with all DAWs are fine. There's nothing wrong with them. I personally use Studio One because that's the DAW that I use. But I've used many stock plugins in Cubase and many stock plugins in Logic and many stock plugins in Pro Tools, and they're all just fine. They're all just fine. Stock plugins are fine when you're first starting out. So I don't think it matters about which DAW or which one, you know. You're welcome, Sean. Thank you for joining. You wanted to ask about the splitter, how it's used on plugins. I know there's a splitter feature in Studio One. I don't use it, so I'm not really sure. I know of it, but I've never used it, so I can't tell you. I'm sorry. I don't know about that particular feature, but I know they do have a splitter plugin, some kind of a utility plugin that you can do in Studio One, but I've never used it. Any other questions? I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve. How many people we still got watching this thing? We still got some people here? What do we got? 35 people. Whoa, how about that? Awesome. You guys are great, man. I do appreciate you coming and checking out our little hangout, our little get together. That'll be pretty. That's really really cool of you. Okay, come on, going once, going twice. Type. I know there's a little bit of delay, so I'll wait a few seconds here for YouTube to catch up to the comments. And then we'll end this bad boy. Everyone done? Or you guys got more? Oh, here's another one. See, I got to wait a couple seconds. It's okay. Let's see. Here we go. Live, FL, Cubase, and Reason are pretty good examples of compatible DAWs with a static license. Okay. You thought Pipeline is a great feature. Well, Pipeline is a really good feature. That's Studio One. But there's other DAWs that do something similar. Logic does a thing called I/O plugin. Pro Tools does something, I forget what Pro Tools calls it. It's been a long time, but they have a hardware insert plugin as well. But Pipeline is great too. Pipeline is great too. I used to use that all the time. So that is a great thing if you're trying to get hardware inserted into your rig and you don't have a console. Pipeline is a great way to do it. What else? Come on now. How many likes we have? I know we got 35 people. Do we have 35 thumbs up yet? Not that it matters. Hey, by the way, if this thing has helped you in any way, shape, or form, and you guys dig these kind of live streams, you know, feel free to use the super chat. You know, that helps as well. It allows me to continue to come on here and do all these things for you guys. Let's see. Thanks so much for this demo. You're welcome. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. I hope it helped answer some of your questions. All right, man. Okay, so I think we're going to wrap up. So I do appreciate all of you guys, as always. And I appreciate you guys coming out. You guys are great. Let me know in the comments below, as this will stay on YouTube for people to watch the replay. What other video ideas, live stream ideas, anything else that you guys want to see? Let me know. I'd be glad to try to do that for you. And if there's any other video ideas or demo ideas or any of those kinds of things, I'm going to try to make it happen and bring you guys as much information as I possibly can, because that's what I do here, to try to give you guys good, solid information on some of these things. So when you guys are out trying to make decisions on things for your studio, that you have some point of reference where I'm not just here trying to sell you my product, because I don't care which ones you buy. I don't care if you don't buy any of them. I'm just here trying to help give you information. I'm not trying to sell you anything. So anyhow, thanks so much for joining me, everybody. I really do love you all and appreciate it. Make sure you check out homerecordingmadeeasy.com. And until the next time we get together, thank you very, very much. Take care, everybody.